Get out of here.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! He's flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time.
All right, everybody, welcome in. A2D Radio. This is the Sports Sounds exclusively on A2DRadio.com. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. As always, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, and Instagram. If you miss anything, download us wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. As always, we're brought to you by ARIA Public Adjusting. Don't fight your homeowner's insurance alone. Contact ARIA Public Adjusting. There's a number right there, 813-564-3364. Tell them Sports Sound sent you. Get you some help in your fight against your homeowner's insurance. Also brought to you by BOAGGIO'S Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Home with the best stuffed breads, tomato pie sandwiches, cutlet, and meatballs. Mention AGD Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. Also brought to you by Creative Window Design, serving New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida. Fully authorized Hunter Douglas dealer. Contact Jeff, 609-226-0391 for a free consultation. Obviously, we had the Super Bowl yesterday. Obviously, it did not go the Eagles' way. That's really just what it is. You had a tough little holding call there at the end. You had a field that wasn't good for either team. You had an Eagles defense that just no called, no showed in the second half. Looks like you're going to have some coordinators that are going to be leaving. Gannon possibly staying in Arizona. Steichen going to the Colts. So it's
That's pretty common for Super Bowl teams to lose coordinators.
It's a rough day in Philadelphia because it's an extremely disappointing loss, Brad. But I wouldn't put it as like an epic heartbreak like some of the other ones we've seen around the city. But, you're up 24-10 at halftime. You're playing pretty well. Really the only reason why the game isn't a blowout is because Hurts just inexplicably just dropped the football on that one running play, and the Chiefs were able to scoop it up and run it in for a touchdown.
That was a weird play, though.
It was a weird play. I think that was fourth down. Was that not a fourth down?
It was fourth down. I mean, you got to wonder why he wasn't just punting on that particular series.
Well, I mean, Nick has been aggressive all year, and you gotta do what got you there.
What was it? Was it 4th and 6 or
2? I think it was 4th and 2.
Okay. I don't really quite get the call. I mean, the way they were doing the quarterback sneak, they couldn't stop him. Why did they just stick to that? I mean, it seems like
you could do these games all day.
I
don't have any qualms with any of the the offensive coaching at all.
Well, you scored enough points. I mean, you scored 35 points. That should be enough.
I mean, you're up 10 at halftime, and it's looking pretty good. And then not one stop in the second half. I mean, the Chiefs had 4 possessions in the second half. They got 3 touchdowns and obviously the game-winning field goal, which it completely sucked watching. I mean, Andy Reid is unbelievable. He's a much better coach than Nick Sirianni. I think that was underrated.
I think he's the best coach in the NFL right now.
You're probably right. And that was probably my biggest oversight in handicapping this football game. Andy Reid, I mean, Nick Sirianni is a really good football coach. And he's young, and he's going to learn from this. And
he'll get better.
You can't guarantee that you're going to have.
Andy Reid right now is a legend. I mean, he's just gotten better. He took a team that lost arguably the best receiver in the NFL, and didn't really make a difference. The Chiefs still went 14-3. They got to the Super Bowl and they won it. They didn't blow out anybody in the playoffs, but they still did what they had to do.
And so, like, you had the Mahomes aspect. He was better than Hurts, although I still don't think it's by that much, even though Mahomes did win. And then you had Kelsey over Goddard. Obviously, that's a big advantage for the Chiefs. Kelsey's one of the greatest tight ends of all time. Yeah, that Goddard's a good player, but I mean the aspect of the football game that was overlooked by me was Andy Reid is tenfold better than Nick Sirianni. At least
tenfold better than everybody right now, Rob. He's the he's the NFL gold standard right now. I mean, listen, Belichick had his time with Brady, but he's definitely the king of coaches right now in the NFL. No question. I mean, he's been in the Super Bowl 3 of the last 6 years. He's won 2 of them. He's always right there all the time. Even when the Chiefs have injuries or when they were a little short defensively, he figured out a way to coach them and get them to where they had to get to. I mean, the guy's done an unbelievable job, and I guarantee you that's not going to be his last Super Bowl win.
No, I mean, why would he? I mean,
what is Patrick Mahomes? 27. He's probably got 10 real good years left. If he keeps himself in shape. I mean, who knows how many more he's going to win?
I think they said Reid is 64, but I mean, Belichick's 70.
Well, Coughlin coached till he was
he's
71.
Coming back, and he's not letting that job go with Mahomes as his quarterback. No freaking way. He's not getting off that gravy train.
Yeah, not unless he retires.
I thought another big aspect takeaway of the game is Jalen Hurts. Absolutely belongs in the upper echelon of quarterbacks in this league.
No question.
He played terrific. He had the one fumble. I don't think he didn't have any.
He didn't have any.
It was just the one turnover in the whole game, right?
Yeah, that was it. For
either team. So, I mean, Jalen Hurts, he goes 27 for 38, 304 yards with a touch. And the touch was a
103 quarterback rating.
And the touchdown was an absolute dime to A.J. Brown. Incredible throw, incredible catch. He added 70 yards on the ground with 3 rushing touchdowns. So, sign me up. Lifetime contract, Jalen Hurts. Done messing around. Whatever his AAV is going to be, however it affects the Eagles' cap. Like, this guy's got to get signed. This guy's a big-time player. This guy's going to be an MVP candidate as long as he's healthy in this league.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think that they're gonna sign him to whatever they have. They're gonna do what they have to do. It sounds like they're gonna do it this year too. So, at this point,
they have to. They have to do it before, because Burrow hasn't gotten paid yet and Herbert hasn't gotten paid yet.
No, and if they wait till they get paid, then they're going to end up paying more.
Right. So we're going to get the chat going here in a second. I'm sure Eagles fans are mad, disappointed, angry, upset, whatever you are. Let it out in the chat. We're here for you. Obviously, it's a tough day, but overall, I'm not overly angry. I'm disappointed the Eagles lost the football game, because I thought they had a really good team, and I thought they were in a really good spot entering the second half to win the game. But the Eagles had a successful season. I know they didn't close, but it was – I don't feel cheated today. I feel like they left it all on the field, and I feel like that –
Listen, they didn't get any breaks. I mean, that's for sure.
I guess my one complaint today is that stupid field. Whatever was going on with that. And it was a problem last year when Odell Beckham at, SoFi last year in L.A.?
Yeah, he tore his knee up on that
stupid – He tore his ACL.
On that stupid paint emblem.
Yesterday, no one could stay on their feet in the field. And, you spent almost $1 million on the field just for one game, and you can't get it right. I mean, Hassan Reddick's on the ground the whole time. Brandon Graham's on the ground the whole time. They can't get footing to rush the passer, and I'm sure that resonated with the Chiefs as well. So I guess that's my one sour grapes gripe thing. But like, I don't think the Eagles got cheated by the refs. I don't think the Eagles got cheated by anyone but themselves in the second half, especially on defense. So, but you let it out in the chat if you think the Eagles got cheated. If you think the Eagles should have won. I think the Eagles should have won, but we'll get to it in the chat. Let's get – first, you got to remember, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Obviously, football coming to an end. Oh, we got Sixers, we got Flyers, we got MLB, all on the horizon. It never stops, round the clock, 24/7, 365. We got you here at A2D Radio. Now we're sort of, Brad, look a little forward. Our poll question tonight brought to you by FanUp, best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. A2D Radio. I'm sorry, A2D promo code. 5,000 bonus points. That's $50 free. Brad, the Eagles defense has to get younger. This is just an interesting question because I can't sit here and blame the offense really at all for yesterday's loss. They had one turnover. They scored 35 points, and you had a defense, for whatever reason, couldn't get a stop in the second half. Was that because
they stopped them cold in the first half?
So was that right? Gannon got out coached by Reed and the Chiefs' offensive staff. I think that's pretty obvious, especially in the second half. Because the Eagles got no pass rush. The Eagles got no pressure. And they went back to that zone thing. I mean, if you're going to get no pressure and you're just going to play zone against a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he's going to eat you up. And that's what happened. And Mahomes didn't even really have Mahomes. I mean, 21 to 20.
He was very efficient.
Yeah, 21 to 27. So that's efficient. 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. Almost 100 QBR. And he had that big run in the second half, too, that kind of.
Yeah, and Pacheco ran the ball pretty effectively, especially in the second half against the Eagles. That problem came back again with stopping the run when they had to. It was it's just one of those games in the second half. For whatever reason, the Eagles defense did not play like they had all season, or in the first half. Now you can credit Reed with adjustments. I'm sure they made a lot of adjustments because it's, I had to feel like the Chiefs were down 24-14, so you're down 10 at halftime, and it looked like Mahomes hurt his ankle on that one tackle. And by the way, nothing dirty about that tackle. Okay,
excuse me.
You're allowed to tackle. You're allowed to tackle somebody. Okay, there's no problem with that tackle. But at the same time, if you're a Kansas City fan, you had to be worried because he looked like he was hurt. The team was the Eagles were just had their way on offense for the most part the first half. What was interesting was that you kind of had the feeling if Kansas City didn't score a touchdown on their first drive in the second half, the game was going to be over. That game could have totally gotten away from them if they had to punt the ball back to the Eagles. But they couldn't stop them, and really that's really I think that was the key part of the game yesterday was that opening drive in the third quarter. If the Eagles could have stopped them and gotten the ball back and added to their lead, the game would have been over.
Maybe, and that's in reference to the Jalen fumble. Well,
because of the Jalen fumble in the first half, they kept them in the game. What I'm saying is when the Chiefs got the opening kickoff in the second half.
Right, they went right down and scored.
They went right. The Eagles needed to stop them. Maybe not a 3 and out, but you know what? At least hold them to a field goal. Don't let them get in the end zone. And and make it a close game like that, because when you're playing Patrick Mahomes, it's going possession by possession. You have to, and Hurts was good yesterday. Nothing against Hurts, but Patrick Mahomes is just it's hard once he gets on a roll. It's hard to stop him. He's one of those guys. When he gets in a rhythm, he just is hard to stop. And you take in consideration the fact that what the Chiefs did this year without Tyreek Hill. I mean, I didn't even think they'd make the playoffs without Tyreek Hill. Silly me. I mean, what do I know? I thought that was going to be a killer move. He just, went and started throwing the ball to other guys, and he made other guys around him better. That's what great quarterbacks do.
So, I mean, I guess this defense needs to get younger. It's hard. It's hard to talk about this stuff right after, especially when you're a fan. I know you're pro Chiefs or whatever, neutral, however you want to classify yourself for this game. But
I mean, Rob, I bet a pretty decent amount of money on the Eagles yesterday. You I thought that they were going to win. Yeah. I mean, Christ, I wouldn't bet that much money on anybody if I didn't think wasn't pretty sure that they were going to win. I want to lose money. That's why I went off. So that's why I went off on Facebook, because I was pissed off about losing all that money.
It's always a slippery slope when you bet on teams you hate and you lose.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's just it just adds. It's almost like I was like the Giants god was punishing me for betting on the Eagles.
But I mean, you look at this defense. The defensive line. I mean, it's a little older, and you're gonna have to pay
34 for Graham, 32 for Cox. I mean, I think Hargrave is 30 now, or 29.
Hargraves, and you're going to be paying Jalen Hurts a bunch of money, and that's going to affect who you can bring back.
I mean, if you're Howie, you might want to consider drafting a young player to get into that defensive line. A young stud. I mean, if anybody can find one in the draft, it's him. That's for sure. And he definitely knows rushing the quarterback talent. That's something that he that he seems to be very good at finding. I mean, offensive line, other than Lane Johnson, it's still pretty young, and Lane Johnson's only 32. And one thing, offensive linemen seem to be good a lot longer than defensive linemen. I don't know why that is, but it's a fact. I mean, they seem to keep their greatness a lot longer. I mean, you look at guys like Kevin Mawai, Anthony Munoz, some of the great offensive linemen of our day. They lasted forever. So no reason to think if Johnson stays healthy, he won't continue to be an outstanding player. But Kelsey's 36. How long can he play at this? If he continues to play, how long can the guy play at this level? You just have to wonder, because it's...
Well, this is what the Eagles do so well. They draft guys a year early.
Oh, they do, and they seem to always know when to get rid of guys before they completely break down and aren't any good anymore, too. I mean, that's just a sign of a well-run organization. I mean, this is something that you guys seem to do very well. When a guy, they never get rid of someone too late. They always get rid of somebody kind of right on time, or maybe a year early. But I think it's better to get rid of a guy a year early than get rid of a guy a year late.
Oh, big time. Big time. But so
they may have to do some unpopular things in the offseason, but if I was an Eagle fan, I would trust him to do whatever he has to do. I mean, so he did a terrific job.
Those of you who haven't been following it or don't know, Fletcher Cox, Robert Quinn, Brandon Graham, Jason Hargrave, James Bradbury, Kazir White, TJ Edwards, Linval Joseph, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Marcus Epps are all players on this defense that are not under contract yet for next season. That's a lot of talent. So yeah, this is going to be a new look defense. Whether they bring in young guys to fill the void, which I don't think is very. That's obviously what you want to do. You want to hit in the draft. You have the 10th pick and whatever the 30th pick in the draft, because the Dolphins don't have a pick. So I mean, that's going to be. You would think that that's going to be defensive guys. And you're probably going to have a new coordinator too, because Jonathan Gannon's probably going to be the coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Are you just going to?
I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine as far as finding a defensive coordinator.
Well, no one's happy with Jonathan Gannon after last night's second half. Absolutely no one, including me, really.
I think he should have blitzed more, and that's just my opinion. But I think he's been so enthralled about the fact that they have a great front four, and they always get to the quarterback, so they don't need to blitz.
That's not their thing, though. It hasn't been their thing the whole season.
But if you're not getting pressure, you have to have some blitz packages in the back of your mind that you could run to surprise them. You don't have to. I'm not saying blitz on every play. I'm not saying to be the Steelers or play defense like that. But I do think that sometimes if things aren't working, you got to change them up a little bit. I mean, they should have had a couple of blitz packages in there just to surprise Mahomes, slow him down a little bit.
Especially after the ankle injury at the end of the second half. I mean,
you're not
going to show him any type of pressure after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should have at least done a couple of them. If they were afraid of a screen pass, they've got speedy linebackers, and their safeties are pretty good. I just think that maybe he kind of didn't do what he needed to do, in my opinion, to do whatever, to try to throw the kitchen sink. They're a very aggressive team, the Eagles. So don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't have hurt them to try to maybe blitz and put more pressure on Mahomes. I mean, it just seemed like when there was pressure, he just moved up into the pocket every time, or then ran to his right and was able to either get rid of the ball or find somebody down the field. I mean, it was the same thing every time.
Getting some comments here. Marcus Blackman. Eagles choked the game away. I wouldn't necessarily call it. It was clearly the Chiefs were better. The line was wrong. The Eagles shouldn't have been favored.
Well, their offensive line dominated everybody all season.
Look, I've been a Philadelphia sports fan for 33 years now, and I've seen the team. I've seen these four teams choke away plenty of big games, plenty of championships, plenty of games where they've been favored and no one thought they could lose. I don't know if I can call last night a choke.
Listen,
I'm not even like
by 1.5. Listen, when you're only 1.5 point favorite.
Look, I'm disappointed the Eagles didn't win last night. I'm not furious the Eagles didn't win. This isn't like an all-time like bogus outcome. Like losing to Tampa in 0-1, like that was crushing. That was a bad loss. Losing to Carolina the next year after that, that was crushing. That was a bad loss. The Flyers losing to the Devils in 2001 when Eric Lindros got knocked out by Scott Stevens, way worse than this. 2011 when the Phillies got shut out 1-0 in Game 5 by, I guess it was Chris Carpenter, and Roy Halladay threw a one-hitter, one run, and lost the game 1-0 at home. That was way worse than what transpired.
How about
Kawhi
Leonard? How about when Kawhi Leonard hit that shot against
that stung?
the Sixers?
That stung a lot more.
That had to be painful. I mean, when I saw that go in,
that was brutal. I mean, last night sucked, but I wouldn't put it in the brutal losses of Philadelphia like the ones we just mentioned are.
No, I mean, you came back and tied it up with 6 minutes to go. Defense just didn't do the job. And yeah, it shouldn't have been, and they shouldn't have been in a position where on that penalty that should never have happened. They shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. If the defense did its job, Hurts would have had the ball back with 3 minutes to go, and they would have been able to control the clock in the game.
Yeah, and I think the Chiefs showed that if you have the quarterback and you have the head coach that meshes well with the quarterback, which I think the Eagles have here with Sirianni and Jalen, you're going to be right there. We're going to get in the NFL offseason, little preview of it around the league. We'll also talk some NBA, NHL as well as we progress through this show. But there's a lot of really bad franchises in the NFL.
Really bad.
Like teams that just don't have a clue at the head coach, owner, quarterback,
and they
crux
continue
of everything.
And they continue to stink continuously.
So, yeah, the Eagles are going to have some decisions to make. And, yes, I totally agree with the poll. They definitely need to get younger on defense. They've done a good job of that already because, like, you're probably going to lose Hargrave, who was a Pro Bowler for you this year. But that's why you picked Jordan Davis at the 13th pick last year.
Yeah, and he should be able to come in and do a good job.
Jordan Davis needs to start for you next year. Defensive end, you're probably going to draft a defensive end with the 10th pick in the draft this year. Thank you, Saints.
You could move up too, I mean, you've got 2 first-round picks. I know the second one is number 30, but still, if you gave up 2 picks, you're giving up 2 picks to move up to number 1. That's significant. You might be able to get into the into the top 6.
So, yes, the Eagles do have to get younger on defense, but, this is an offensive league. You're going to have your quarterback. You're going to have a really good tight end. You're going to have 2 really good receivers. And
do you re-sign Sanders or you let him go? That's a tough one.
I mean, I want to bring back Gardner Johnson, who we traded for from the Saints.
Yeah, because he's still pretty young.
And then
I would keep him, definitely.
And then Hurts is going to get a lot of money. So I think you can maybe sign one of these free agents and Hurts. Maybe if some of these veterans like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham want to stick around and are going to take a little bit of a discount, you can maybe make that work. But
I think Cox might. I don't know about Graham, though. I mean, because Cox is still young. Cox is still young enough that he might have some years, and he might want to play here. Well, actually, I'm wrong. It should be the other way. Graham at his age might want to just finish his career here. Cox is still. I mean, he's 31. He's past his prime, but he may want to go chase the money. Did he not come off a very big contract?
Well, he finished out his monster extension. Now he's just been kind of kicking the can down the road with 1-year deals. I think he made 1 year, $10 million this year, which pretty good money.
That's actually a bargain for somebody like him, though.
I mean, he had
1 year, $10 million. I mean,
he had 9 sacks.
Yeah, he could easily be like a $15-16 million player somewhere else.
But you're gonna lose Hargrave. Jordan Davis is gonna have to start. You're gonna lose starting right guard, Isaac Seumalo. All the bad offensive lines in this league. He's gonna get a lot of money to play offensive line somewhere in this league.
Are you gonna keep Bradbury, or you're gonna let him go?
He's not very popular in Philadelphia right now because of that holding call. I mean,
he also screwed up the play on Sky on the second touchdown.
He did that.
Touchdown.
Was it more?
Slay screwed up the Tony one on his side, and then Bradbury fell for the same motion play as Slay did on the other side.
But I don't know. I'd be kind of surprised if Bradbury was back. Slay, you're kind of boxed into having for another year because of his contract. Miles Sanders won't be here. Sorry, I can't give you any type of contract extension. So this is going to be a new look team after you sign Jalen. Maybe you can fit I'm big on keeping CJ Gardner-Johnson. That's my number one priority outside of extending Hurts. Then past that, I don't know. Hargrave probably won't be here. Bradbury probably won't be here. Miles, no. Semalu, no. Linval Joseph's old.
Yeah, you're not going to keep him or and Donovan.
Robert Quinn did it. Robert Quinn didn't do anything. Austin Scott's a free agent, Brad. Maybe the Giants will sign him.
Oh, you just read my mind.
TJ Edwards is a free agent.
Every time he gets the ball, yeah, I always see him breaking tackles. He's a good running back. I just think that he just has so much. There's so much talent on this team that he doesn't get the ball as much as he could. I think he could be a really solid running back. I take him in a second as the other running back to Barkley. Yeah, if the Giants re-sign Barkley, that's another question on another team for you. So, but getting back to the Eagles, I mean, I think that there are some defensive players that they need to just say, okay, you guys, you're in your prime, but you know what, you're kind of getting closer to the wrong side of your prime, and draft. I mean, the way Howie Roseman drafts, I would, as long as he doesn't have to draft a wide receiver and he can trade for one. The way he drafts offensive linemen and running backs and defensive players, I think you're going to be fine.
Jake Friel, what's up, boys? Easy agree. We'll need to add a running back as well, but defense is the main focus. NFC Esports, defense and terrible late game holding call. That was suspect. I mean, the holding call is the holding call. He grabbed his waist. He's a little weak. If they didn't call it, I don't think anyone would have gotten mad, but they did call it. And it's a penalty.
Listen, you guys don't want to be acting like the Saint fans, do you?
Saint fans and Niners fan. Now, I'm not like there's.
No, I mean, I bet especially the Saint fans. If you remember, Rob, that non-pass interference call, yeah, they're still mad about that.
Yeah, that's right. Don 19. So it was 4th and 1.
Okay,
and they were going to do a sneak, and then Semalu got called for the false start.
Okay, so it was 4th and 6. So why did they just punt? I mean, 4th and 6 in your own territory. I know that they got a great offensive line. I get that. I mean, you steamrolled my team, so I get the whole thing. But there are times when again when you take a gamble that is the risk worth the reward. 4th and 6 is not automatic. I mean, for the Eagles, a 2-yard play is almost automatic because that quarterback sneak that they do, the way they execute it, it's almost impossible to stop. But once you get past that, you actually have to really find a hole, and it's not that easy to run for 6 yards, and sometimes passing isn't that easy either. There's no guarantee on a 6-yard play for a 6-yard play.
I'm not that salty today, but obviously, any sports is. Fuck Andy Reid, really going to feed into the NFL narrative, glorifying Reid off to the sunset. I mean, it's not really a narrative. It's what's happening. He's the best coach in the league by far. He's a far better coach than Nick Sirianni. And
I mean, honestly, he could have been the coach of he could have been coach of the year.
Yeah, everyone crying that Nick Sirianni should have been coach of the year, should have been crying that Andy Reid should have been coach of the year.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Andy Reid lost Taysom Hill. Okay, Taysom Hill is
Tyreek Hill, you mean?
Tyreek Hill, I'm sorry. Tyreek Hill is, if he's not the best running, if he's not the fastest player in the league and the best wide receiver in the league, he's certainly amongst the top 5.
So, I mean, I don't really think it's a narrative that we're pushing. It's what's happening. And you know
Reid
what?
Made some great halftime adjustments. I mean,
the Chiefs aren't going anywhere. Not with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
So
they already
basically
paid
the
him,
Chiefs
so.
the Chiefs proved me wrong in the fact that you can get rid of your best playmaker in a passing league and be fine.
As long as you bring in qualified personnel to help you out.
I mean, I think
Juju had a pretty good year this year. I mean, he was decent.
Pete Evans, he agrees to the poll, definitely need to get better at safety and linebacker.
Yeah, I just think that they need to get a little younger. That's all, because you know what, younger guys are faster than older guys. It is what it is. As you say a lot, and it's true. Father Time's undefeated. Guys slow down a little bit once they reach 30. I mean, it is, and the football is a very, very tough sport on a body. So you're Andy, when he coached Philly, he used to get rid of guys once they turned 30, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of unhappy people. That, I mean, I remember what's his name. Who was that great linebacker you had?
Trotter was
Jeremiah
the big one.
Trotter. Yeah,
That's the one that
Jeremiah
upset
Trotter. Yeah, they got rid of him, and he's one of the most popular players they ever had, and they really didn't miss a beat.
No, he went to Washington and he didn't do good, and then he ended up coming back a few years later, and he was on the 04 team.
Right.
That lost to the Patriots.
Yeah. Look, the two Super Bowls you lost, you may have lost to the two greatest quarterbacks of all time. I mean, if that's any consolation to you, I know it's not, but I mean, it is what it is. Hurts certainly has a chance to get there. He just he made a horrible turnover yesterday, and that really cost them. And I'll tell you what, the other thing that happened that almost could have been a disaster for the Eagles was that catch, that fumble that was then ruled an incomplete pass when the Chiefs picked it up and ran it in. They were fortunate. They were fortunate. I'm not saying they're lucky. They're fortunate in the fact that the guy who caught the ball, because I don't remember who it was, didn't take a step, because when he got hit, the guy in the Chiefs hit the ball directly and knocked it right out.
Was that Goddard? I think that was Goddard.
Was it Goddard?
I think so.
I can't remember who it was, but had he taken a step and then the ball got knocked out, that would have been a Chief touchdown, because he definitely had control of it. But the rule of thumb is that you have to make a football move as far as taking at least one step, and he didn't do that. So they were fortunate in that particular one. Otherwise, that could have been another touchdown.
Pete Evans can't say he's tenfold better than Sirianni. It was really Reed versus Gannon. I mean, okay. I mean, Andy Reid wasn't favored. I thought the Eagles were a much more talented football team, and Andy Reid found a way to get it done. He's just a better coach, whatever, tenfold, 20-fold, whatever fold you want to make it. I don't really care.
He has the best offensive. He has the best offensive mind in the league right now.
Like I said, tenfold, but however you want to slice it, Nick Sirianni has some catching up to do. He's got a lot to improve on to be as good of a coach as Andy Reid. And that was underestimated, at least by me, when handicapping the Eagles' chances in this football game. Andy Reid's the best coach in the league.
I think it was underestimated by a lot of people, Rob. I mean, I don't know what kind of adjustments he made in the second half. I don't know if he changed blocking schemes or whatever, but it just seemed like, they came out a different team. And I got to tell you, these halftime shows that are like 40 minutes long, I think they screw up the game. They totally screw up the game, because you know what? I think when you give a guy like Andy Reid 40 minutes, 45 minutes to figure out what the hell to do, that's a big advantage for him.
I agree.
Elite coaches like him or Bill Belichick, guys like that who are really, really supreme coaches, give them that much time, and they have that much time to dissect the data and try to figure something out to change a game, the complexion of a game, they're going to do it. And no other games like that. No other game. Halftime is usually 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, they put 15 on the clock.
Yeah, it's 50. It's
Let it
15
run
minutes. I
out.
mean,
It's like double
45
for the
is
Super Bowl.
45 is ridiculous. It's like I don't know. Maybe the NFL wants to at least give people who don't care about the halftime show a chance to go eat their dinner. I don't get it. I don't understand why it's necessary to take a 45-minute break between halves. It's just ridiculous. I think it screws up the game.
Brian Daly, she did do a good job though. I was entertained by the halftime show, which
Yeah,
isn't
I didn't.
always, which
I
isn't always
never
the case.
I never watched the halftime show. I was watching Mega on another channel, which is a giant prehistoric shark that was eating people. That's just whatever. I like that kind of stuff. So
Brian Daly, I disagree with the poll. I think the Eagles need a defensive coordinator who knows how to make adjustments mid-game. Well, I think you're going to get your wish because I think Jonathan Gannon is going to be.
he's going to be the head coach of the Cardinals.
It sounds like it, and it sounds like Shane Steichen is going to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Greg Miller, you play chess against Andy Reid. You're going to lose. Gannon's bend but don't break defense has to go along with Gannon. It's a slippery. I mean, so what, Greg? You just want him to all-out blitz every play and be super aggressive, Jim Johnson, Philadelphia Eagles football? I mean, I don't think that's the answer either against Mahomes. They didn't shuffle the looks at all. It was the same defensive scheme for 2 quarters against the best quarterback maybe ever in Patrick Mahomes and the greatest coach maybe ever in Andy Reid. And they figured it out. And the Eagles couldn't get home. Reddick didn't do anything. Hargrave, did they even have any sacks? They had to have had a few sacks, I guess, right?
0.
They didn't have any sacks.
They didn't have any. Kansas City only had 1. But Kansas City was putting pressure on Hurts, and they were making him and they did make him run to his left several times. He completed a couple of nice throws, by the way, going to his left, which I was impressed by. I didn't realize his arm he had that strong of an arm. So I mean, he was able to do that. But Andy Reid knows what he's doing. He is just unbelievable as far as a coach. I mean, he took a lot of heat when he was here, and I get why they had to move on from him. I do. So I mean, you can't be bitter about whether he should have been let go or not. But
no, I mean,
he ran his course here. I mean, eventually every coach has to
he
go.
was a
at
disaster.
some point.
He was a disaster at the tail end of his Eagles career.
Yeah, he was.
Disaster.
He was, but you know what? He needed a change of scenery, like a lot of coaches. Their voice just doesn't get heard after a while in the locker room. Happens to everybody. Every single coach in the league has that.
Greg Miller, Quez Watkins has to catch that pass. Yeah, it was a bad drop, but I mean, what do you expect? It's Quez Watkins. Another receiver, even though you do have absolute monsters in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, another receiver for Jalen is definitely in my top 5. In the top 5 of my wish list this offseason.
Like they don't have enough good receivers? What?
I don't think you can have enough in today's NFL.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, but listen, you got Goddard and you got A.J. Brown and geez, that Devontae Smith is terrific. I've been telling you, and I'm going to keep telling you, he's the best receiver on that team. He's by far the most dangerous, has the best hands, and he's the fastest one. He's the one that always seems to, when they go deep, it's always him. And whenever they go deep to him, he always figures out a way to catch the ball. Even if it's not a good pass, he finds a way to catch the ball.
I'm just saying, I would like to visit an upgrade.
I'm sure
Possibly
you could. I'm
to
sure
the
you could.
Zach Pascal and Quez Watkins part of the receiver.
I'm sure you could probably find one. But again, if you're going to find one, if it's not through the draft, if it's through free agency, that just means that you're going to have to, subtract from another area. So it's going to be interesting to see what transcends this offseason for the Eagles as far as what they decide to do with their defense and where some of these guys go. Because obviously you're right about the fact that they're going to have to pay Hurts, because if they wait till Burrow and Herbert get paid, they're going to end up he's going to end up being by far the highest paid guy, and you don't want that to end up happening.
Joseph Thies, Hurts played well enough for us to win the game. Defense, if play calling lost us the game. I lost it. Oh, there it is. Hurts definitely belongs in the top 5. Yes. Hurts proved that he is a big-time player, a big-time quarterback.
Absolutely. He's in the top 5 now. I mean, you could Mahomes is number 1, and then you can make up your own minds about between Allen, Burrow, Hurts, and Herbert. I think all 4 of them are that's your.
I think Hurts is better. I think Hurts is better than Allen.
I don't think so. I don't agree with that at all. But again, Buffalo doesn't have the offensive line that the Eagles have either, and they don't have the running game. Allen literally has to do the whole thing himself.
Philly Sports with Bake. Biggest thing this year is Hurts proving it. Yeah, so you have a quarterback, and that's 95% of the battle in this league.
You have a franchise quarterback, an elite franchise quarterback. I mean, that's going to make you a contender every year that he plays.
Greg Miller, Eagles got outcoached. The Eagles definitely got outcoached last night by a lot. The Blue City Empire talking up the Chiefs. Matt Spallene's in the house. What's up, fellas? I agree with the poll, but I also can't ignore how bad TJ Edwards last night. Dude was lost, standing still, frozen a bunch too. Yeah, TJ Edwards didn't have a good game. He's the Eagles starting middle linebacker. I would be shocked if he's back next year. But, I mean, where's Nakobe Dean? Where is he? Is Gannon not playing him because he's young? Is TJ Edwards outplaying him in practice by that much that he gets the game reps? If it's the latter, that's really concerning because a lot of people were really excited about Nakobe Dean getting the 3rd-round pick linebacker out of Georgia. He's probably going to have to start next year.
Well, you know what? When he gets a chance
to sustain this success,
he's going to get a chance to play next year. So we'll see what happens. They're going to have to, they're going to look like every team, Rob. They're going to have to make some moves. Some of them may not be very popular, especially in their clubhouse, but they're going to have to make some moves. I mean, it happens with everybody. I'm sure Kansas City's going to have to let go a few guys if they don't want to let go either.
I mean, I don't know how unpopular any move can be unless you see Jason Kelce or Fletcher Cox or Brandon Graham playing for someone else. But I think the fans are smart that they realize that these players are older. And I don't know.
I mean, listen, all fan bases seem to get attached to certain players who've been heroes for a long time. And these guys have been playing and been great, especially Kelce. I mean, if Kelce, I don't see Kelce going anywhere except playing for the Eagles. I just don't think he would leave. I think he'll retire before he goes to play for another team. That's just my opinion. It just seems like that's the kind of guy he is. He wants to be in Philly. So
I think Greg hit it. Greg, you're hitting it right on the money with Gannon. Not creative enough. Very well put. You have to be creative. You have to throw different looks at Mahomes, and they just didn't do it. They kind of did in the first half, but
They shut Mahomes down. I mean, Mahomes only scored seven offensive points in the first half. As a matter of fact, the Chiefs had the ball for what, 8 minutes in the first half?
yeah, it was a huge disparity.
Yeah, the Eagles completely dominated that first half. But I mean, the problem is they only had a 10-point lead, and Kansas City was getting the
It
second half takeoff
22 to 8.
kickoff.
22 to 8.
Yeah,
Time of possession.
and that's pretty incredible. And you had to think that Kansas City's defense would be worn out by the middle of the third quarter. You know, the way things were going.
Well, none of the Eagles running backs ran the football at all. It was only Hurts.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That
was
was
a
by
problem
design, too. They called a lot of QB draws and QB counters. So clearly they saw something in Kansas City that could be exploited with Hurts running the ball. And he ran 15 times for 70 yards, so they were kind of right.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But Sanders can't be running the ball 7 times and only get 16
I
yards.
can't wait till he's such a stiff, Miles Sanders. Just, he's not that great. He's not better than Scott or Gainwell. He's just not.
No, I think Scott's better than him. Scott's hard to tackle. I noticed a lot of guys have trouble tackling him. You know, it's not just the Giants that can't tackle him. A lot of teams can't tackle him.
Joseph Orkowski, props to you, Rob, for sitting on here and talking about it. I've been avoiding news and social media. I don't want to hear anything about the game. It still hurts. Yeah, I haven't watched highlights to the game. The game's DVR'd on my DVR machine. I might as well fucking delete it. I'm never watching that again. I know what happened. But, I mean, I've suffered worse losses. I've been way more pissed off than I am right now at other teams, other losses, other coaching performances than I am about this one. Sometimes you just lose, guys. Sometimes you just go out there and you play well, you have a good plan, and the other team just has a better plan and better players and a better quarterback.
And catches a couple of breaks along the way. Sometimes that hey, listen, Rob, you want to talk about one that stung me as a Yankee fan. The worst one ever was against the World Series against Arizona in 2000.
Yeah, 01, the 9/11 World Series.
Yeah, that was that was a horrible World Series loss. The Yankees had a 4-2 lead in the ninth inning with Mariano Rivera on the mound, and they got sloppy with the baseball, made 2 errors, and ended up losing 5-4 in the bottom of the ninth. I mean, it can't get worse than that, because you have Mariano on the mound, and you're already puffing that victory cigar, you know, and all of a sudden they start throwing the ball all over, you know, between Mariano throwing one away and then Brocious having an easy double play and then going right to first base instead of going to second and getting starting an easy double play. You see that and you're like, oh. So I get it.
What about 3-0 when you were up 3-0 against Boston?
Oh yeah, that was terrible. Oh, you had to bring that up, huh? that may have been worse. That may have been worse because it was Boston.
And you lost to the Marlins that one year too, where you weren't supposed to lose.
Yeah, but you know what, Josh Beckett we couldn't hit Josh Beckett. I mean,
yeah, he started 3 times, right?
Yeah, he started the third game. He started on 2 days rest, and we were like, oh come on, no way, this guy. And he pitches a complete game shutout. I mean, that happens too sometimes, Rob. With some pitcher just goes out there and completely dominates, and no matter what he does, you know, you can't hit him.
Yeah, Giant gods. Joseph Orkowski, Bradbury gets the penalty. Tony catches, the touchdown. So
yeah, well, doesn't make us feel any better, Rob. That didn't make me feel any better to see Tony get a touchdown because I can't stand Tony.
Jacob Hensler. Besides a running back, Howie needs to draft all defense, especially after that choke job yesterday. I mean, Howie knows what he's doing. Like, he'll get a running back to replace Sanders. He'll get some defensive guys. He'll get a punt returner, hopefully. Another thing on my wish list, a punt returner. Give me someone who can take it to the house. At least has the chance to.
Well,
take
you
it to the house
had one, but unfortunately he couldn't play his position very well, and that was Rager.
Yeah.
I mean, all things considered, he was a good punt returner.
No, he was supposed to be, but he wasn't good at anything.
Didn't he get it run one back for a touchdown against the Cardinals?
Did he?
Yeah, 1 year. I thought I remembered him doing that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's no official word on Gannon going to the Cardinals yet, but it seems there's a lot of smoke. They can have him. He doesn't strike me as a head coach at all. I think Steichen would have a better chance of being successful in Indianapolis.
Well, I'm just glad they're not taking Kopka from the Giants because I thought he did a hell of a job with.
What's he, your offensive coordinator?
Yeah, he did. I think he did a hell of a job with Daniel Jones this year.
I would hire him over.
Well, we all thought we were going to lose him. We were praying that we wouldn't.
I thought he was going to go to the. I thought he was going to go to the Carolina
or the Chargers.
Well, the
Chargers didn't fire their coach. Yeah, but I kept thinking that the Chargers were going to fire their coach and grab him. So.
Jacob Hensler, there's no pressure. At 3.5 quarters, there's no pressure at all. You have to do something different, take a chance, anything. Gannon's scheme yesterday was a fireable offense. Well, he's either going to be here as the defensive coordinator or in Arizona as the head coach. He's not going to get fired.
No, I don't think you can fire.
Franchise. I mean,
you can't fire him for a bad half in the Super Bowl. I mean, the team was 16-3 this year. You know, and they were one of the best defensive teams in the league. You can't fire them off of that.
We have the worst performing franchise as a defense in Super Bowl history, 33 points and 38 points. I mean, you played Brady and you played Mahomes. Like, you're not playing.
Yeah, didn't we mention this at the beginning of the show?
Yeah. So the Eagles' Super Bowl history, and that's what you got to do in the Super Bowl these days. You're going to have to beat Mahomes or Brady or, Aaron Rodgers had his run. Russell Wilson's been there. Like, you're playing the best of the best of the best of the best. And you can't get to a Super Bowl without an elite quarterback. I think
unless you're the 2000 Ravens.
That's a different era.
Yeah, and different team too, or the '85 Bears. You're not going to do it, and it's almost impossible to have a defense that good because A, the rules, and B, it's impossible to keep players like that on your team because they all have to get paid.
What you're doing defensively is why not do something different? Try to disguise. Yeah, I mean, I think it was you, Greg. You said it wasn't creative.
Yeah, they should have blitzed a couple of times.
Joseph Rakosky, like, this is where you're getting, like, Nakobe Dean's going to take over for Kazir White. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. It concerns me that Nakobe Dean couldn't bump TJ Edwards or Kazir White, who wasn't that great, either of them, out of their starting spots. Is an offseason going to change that? I don't know. Cam Jernigan's, we picked him in the second round out of Nebraska. He's Kelsey's replacement. Like, Kelsey's maybe the greatest center of all time, so that's a downgrade.
Yeah, remember what happened to the Jets after they lost Mawai? When
Samalu.
he retired? I mean, it's especially center. It's tough to replace a great center. It's really hard to get a center like that. That's one of the hardest positions to fill.
And then Samalu, Hargrave, Bradbury, they're probably all gone. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's a free agent too. Despite all these question marks, the Eagles have the 4th best odds to win the Super Bowl next year, according to Caesars Sportsbook.
You know, though, it's impossible right now to really be able to pick anything. You have to wait and see what transpires in the offseason with free agency and the draft. You know, I mean, you don't or injuries that happen during training camp, that kind of stuff. It's really hard to be able to make those kind of predictions now. Bottom line is what you're going to have is your quarterback, who is, as I said, at worst a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Okay, he's one of the top 5, big 5 elite quarterbacks. You're going to have him. You're going to have 2 terrific wide receivers, an outstanding tight end, and your offensive line for the most part is all signed, and you're going to be, except for Kelsey, so you're going to be dominant again. And I have a feeling Kelsey's going to play one more year. I don't think he wants to go out on a losing note. I think
he's still so good.
That's what I'm saying.
It's up to him, but like if you can make $15 million, be a first-team All-Pro, and have a legitimate chance to win a championship with the Eagles.
Yeah, and a team he obviously loves to play for.
Some guys understand the big markets, Brad, and some guys don't. And
no, he does, and he handles it really. He handles it really well, and he likes it. He's up to the challenge. He's not afraid of it. His brother is the same way. His brother could play anywhere, and it wouldn't matter.
Jason Charles, dumbest comment of the night. Trade Hurts to Houston for the number 2 and number 12 picks. Paying him $50 million a year isn't the right move.
Huh? Okay, trade him to the Giants.
So you're gonna trade. Joan. So you're gonna trade.
Okay.
You're gonna trade.
I'll take him.
Jalen Hurts for a defensive tackle out of Georgia, Jalen Carter, and then whatever, a corner. I mean, 8 years, 300
from that one.
8 years, $360 million for Hurts could really put us in cap hell for a decade.
Yeah, but that's what you're gonna have to pay more than that. I can tell you.
That's what
I can tell you right now. You're gonna pay more than that.
I don't know what you want to do. You got no chance. You got no chance without Jalen Hurts. None.
I mean, do you guys forget when Minshew was quarterbacking those games? You forget the New Orleans game? They couldn't get out of their own way. That wouldn't have happened if Hurts was playing. In the Cowboy game, who knows? You scored 33 points, so maybe it wouldn't have made that big of a difference with him. But you know what? The other games you scored. The other game against the Saints, you definitely would have won that game if you had Hurts playing. I mean, there's no question about that. Now, I think you're going to be looking at 10 years, probably between 450 and 500 million for him.
What did Mahomes get?
What did he get? 420 something? 420 million for I can't remember. I know his the total contract was over 400 million. I don't know how much is guaranteed, and I don't remember the years. It was either 8, 9, or 10. I just can't remember off the top of my head. Ryan Swoopy. He's been saying this all season, so I gotta give him a little love for calling this. He called this a long time ago about the secondary. It's just that the Eagles. Nobody was ever able to avoid getting sacked 5 to 6 to 7 times a game like Kansas City was.
Yeah,
But, I mean, your corners were.
the defense needs to get home. You have a lot of money tied up in the defensive end and defensive tackle. And if they're not going to do anything, get 0 sacks against the best quarterback since Brady, yeah, you're going to lose. It's like my NBA. It's like defense in the NBA. Look, all these receivers can get open and can go off for 100 yards. All of them can. But, you need, very few corners are shut down corners these days because of the rules and because of how talented these receivers are.
There are so many great receivers in the NFL, not just good, but great receivers in the NFL. And it seems like every year, a couple more come in.
I mean, the defense revolves around the pass rush. If the pass rush isn't there, other position weakness is exposed. You need to shut down cover guys at linebacker and in the secondary.
Yeah, but it's not that easy to find guys like that.
Check out the big punt return by the Chiefs. Coverage blown by Sanders. Big time. He was contained on the left side.
Well, I'll tell you, they put up some kind of a wall for Tony on that punt return. I mean, that was unbelievable. He had like 4 or 5 blockers in front of him, and they were just mowing guys down. I mean, he basically ran into the tackle at the 5-yard line, just ran out of room.
Joseph Urkowski, Andy Reid sounded like he was mulling retirement. I bet Bieniemy slides right in to be the head coach.
Now, Reid already confirmed he's going to be back next year.
Yeah, he's not going to go anywhere as long as Patrick Mahomes is in his prime.
Yeah, if you check out NFL trade rumors on the computer, they're pretty good. I would definitely tell you guys. So I look at that, and I look at the hockey and basketball. I look at all the stuff in those MLB trade rumors and et cetera, hoops. NBA trade rumors. They give you information that's really, really completely up to date. So I read on that he's already said he's going to be back for next year.
If every team is healthy in the NFC, I think the Eagles will still be the top seed. Teams behind them, Rams, Niners, Lions, Cowboys, et cetera, et cetera. The Eagles are set up. There's enough here, even with their free agents.
49ers need to find a quarterback who can stay healthy. I mean, they obviously have a good enough defense, but you can't have all your quarterbacks being made of glass all the time. Hearing a lot of rumors about Aaron Rodgers being traded to the Jets.
Yes, let's hit on some of this because Derek Carr is going to get released, and Aaron Rodgers. I think the Packers would be time to move on. It's like he's doing all this weird shit again, where he's holding them hostage and going on some hiking trip where he's not going to have his phone or his internet or anything like that to have this vision quest about what he wants to do. I would just trade Aaron Rodgers while he's on his little vision quest and just be done with it. Start Jordan Love, and then Derek Carr is going to move teams too.
Yeah. Where do you think Derek Carr lands?
He visited with the Saints.
That might be a good place for him. Playing indoors would probably benefit him.
Well, the Bucs are done. The Panthers aren't that good, and the Falcons aren't that good.
Yeah, I don't see him going to any
so
of those.
If the Saints So if the Saints can get Carr, that would make them the favorites in the
Yeah, I
in
would
the
think so.
South. Still not a great division.
No, not at all.
Don 19. He doesn't want Aaron Rodgers to leave. I don't know if he's being sarcastic in that. I don't know. I'm just so over Aaron Rodgers. Let the Jets mess around with that clown. Like, he's not going to win any more Super Bowls or MVP awards or anything like that.
Now he kind of looks pretty washed to me.
He doesn't.
I mean, he still has the fire. He doesn't move like he used to. He's slow now. You know, he used to be when he used to go back to pass. You were always worried that he was going to rip off a 20-yard run at any point, and he was very elusive. He's not that elusive anymore.
Other big time free agents, Brad. You got some decisions to make up north in New York with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley.
Yep, and God only knows. I've heard 50 different rumors about both of them. They're both going to go. They're both going to stay. Barkley's going to go. Jones is going to stay. I've heard it all, so I have no idea what's going on.
Why would that even be an option?
Oh, for Barkley, you mean, or for Jones?
For Barkley, yeah.
Well, if Barkley wants $16 million, and the Giants are not going to pay him $16 million. Okay, the Giants will, from what it sounds like, the Giants will go as far as 10. I mean, Barkley has to realize that he spent 3/4 of his career on injured reserve, and he has had a couple of nice years now. If the Giants franchise him, he can't make more than $12 million. So if I were the Giants, I just franchise him, pay him the $12 million. As far as Jones, I don't know what they're going to do with Jones. Paying him $35 million is just not, to me, he needs to show me a lot more before I make that kind of a commitment with him.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, for him, yeah, especially for him. I mean, look, he was good last year. I'm not going to say he wasn't. He showed a lot of signs. He had the worst worst receivers in the NFL as far as they were the slowest, and he still managed to play pretty well with them. But I mean, as soon as they played an elite team like the Eagles, they were exposed. They only scored 7 points.
But
So
what could your plan possibly be if you don't want to pay Saquon and you don't want to pay Daniel Jones?
well, you have to pay one of them. Okay, if you don't pay Barkley, then I guess you pay Jones, and then you go ahead and draft or sign a free agent running back. But you play in the Northeast, so you need to be able to run the ball. And now that they're getting pretty good again, and they've taken the next step to make the playoffs and win a playoff game, they're going to have to be able to run the ball. I mean, the Eagles run the ball real well. Dallas runs the ball real well. The Giants are going to have to do the same thing. It is what it is in the NFC East. You have to be able to run the ball if you're going to be able to compete with those two teams. So I think they're going to have to do that. I just don't know about Jones.
There's Bev White. He said Barkley got offered $12 million. He turned it down. Jones will get between $35 and $40 million for 5 years.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case, but if it happens, it happens. Barkley has no choice because if the Giants franchise him, that's what he's going to get. And personally, I would just franchise him, and then worry about signing him after June 1st, when they can let Leonard Williams go, and also let what's his name, the useless asshole from Detroit that they picked up,
Galladay
go. Yeah, let him go. Then they can save themselves. Let me think. $32 million on 32 million plus 17 million is 49 million. They could save 49 million on salary. I'm not sure how much that is as far as cap wise. It might be like 22, 23 million, something like that. But they can get an extra 22, 23 million if they cut these two guys or they restructure. I mean, they may restructure Leonard Williams. I can't see them cutting him because he's too good to cut. But he's not that 32 million. There's no way he's going to see that.
Giants should look at Kenny. Not Kenny Galladay.
Keenan Allen. They're going to look at Keenan Allen. Don. That's already been
He's a good player.
been talked about. Yeah, that's already been talked about. They definitely want to look at him. There's a couple of guys out there. I know they really, really want T. Higgins.
What's he, a free agent?
Yeah. No, he's not. Cincinnati wants a first and third for him. So I don't know. I mean, they're looking at him like he was like what the Giants gave up for Odell Beckham. I mean, what the Giants got for Odell Beckham, that's what they want for T. Higgins. I don't know if T. Higgins was as good as Odell Beckham when Odell Beckham was in his prime. That might be a little bit much.
DeAndre Hopkins is going to be on the trade block as well.
Yep. Yeah. Is DeAndre any good anymore? I mean, is he that big of a difference maker?
He's certainly respected.
Yeah, I understand that. But
he certainly would be a good locker room person.
Yeah, but Matt Worth catch the ball.
He's a
and get in the end zone.
He's a big target.
Yeah, he is. I mean, if they're going to re-sign Daniel Jones, they've got to go out and get him some receivers. That's a problem because we've seen him improve his game, and if Giants want to take a leap of faith and pay him, and they better get him some receivers because there's no way he's going to continue to improve by leaps and bounds like he did this year, unless you get him some guys that can catch the ball and some guys that can run. I mean, really, the only receiver I think is worth. There's two receivers they have actually that I think are worth keeping: Wan'Dale Robinson and Hodgkins, the guy from that they got from Buffalo, from their Isaiah Hodgkins from Buffalo's practice squad. Guys like Slayton and some of these other guys, Richie James, they can go. I mean, they're okay, but they're. I mean, let's be honest, they're wide receiver threes on a good team, and they can't be your number one and number two, and they're going to want money, so let them go.
Transitioning to hockey, Brad, your Rangers made a big trade this week.
Yes, they did. They picked up Vladimir Tarasenko, and they gave up a first-round pick, which is going to be either their pick or Dallas's pick, whoever got lower, because they have 2 first-round picks this year. And they gave up a conditional 4th-round pick for next season, and that 4th-round pick becomes a 3rd-round pick if they make the playoffs. So let's just say they're giving up a 1st and a 3rd. So, and then just call it that because that's what's going to happen. So they pick him up, and what happens when you do that is that you can put him on the first line now with Zibanejad and Kreider or Panarin, depending on what day what day it is of the week Gallant is playing on. So you do that, and then all of a sudden, you can move Panarin down to the second line and put VC with him and let him play with Vinny Trocheck. In the third line they have the kid line, so that line is just outstanding with speed. And then they can put a guy like Barclay Goodrow on the 4th line, which is really where he belongs, and they'd be very effective like that. And it also frees him up and VC up to kill penalties because they're both real good penalty killers. So I think at this point the Rangers have a pretty solid chance to win the cup. Will they? I don't know. East is tough. They could be out in the first round because the Devils are a great team, and whoever they play in the playoffs, it's going to be tough. The East is just ridiculously good, and don't forget about the Islanders. They picked up what's his name from Vancouver.
My God, the Devils are 19-3-3 on the road.
The Devils are really, really good. Right now, they don't have Jack Hughes. He's out week to week, so that could slow them down a little bit. I mean, I hope.
I mean, are any of these teams in the East going to add, like the Rangers should add it? I mean, Tarasenko, I mean, that's a pretty good – that's a good piece to add.
Yeah. I mean, there's still, excuse me, they could still try to get. There's still guys out there that they could be had. The guy on San Jose, or yeah, yeah, the guy in San Jose, Timo Meyer, he's a big time player. The only problem is he's got a $10 million qualifying offer for next season. So if you get him and you want to keep him, you know, the Sharks want premium talent for this guy, and you can't blame him. I mean, the guy's 26 years old and he's a terrific player. I think he has 30 goals already. So you're going to have to give up a lot for him, and if you can't afford to sign him to a long-term contract, you can't get him. I don't know which team has enough cap space to do that. Maybe Buffalo and maybe Detroit. Uh, I don't think teams like the Bruins, the top teams, none of them really are in a position cap wise to be able to get him. And you can't trade half your team and half your draft for a guy that's going to leave as a rental. That's a stupid thing to do. So that's a tough one. As far as Kane is now, well, first of all, he's butthurt because the Rangers didn't get him, but that's his own fault because he's been messing around with, oh, I don't know if I want to leave. I don't know if I want to do a if I want to break every Chicago record that they've ever had. He's been saying all that. He wouldn't he wouldn't invalidate his no trade clause. And then all of a sudden the Rangers get Tarasenko, and now he's crying because he wanted to play for the Rangers. Well, you know what? You should have said something. You can't
When
go
is
around.
when is the NHL trade deadline?
March 2nd.
So there's time.
There's time. There's still 3 weeks to go. I'm thinking that a lot of guys are going to end up on the board that we don't know about. Besser on Vancouver is still available. The Blues are probably going to trade Barbashev, who's a really good player too. And as things go along, the Flyers will probably be trading. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's probably anymore. I think it's definitely out there that Van Riemsdyk is available. Provorov is probably available. The Flyers would be smart to get rid of these guys and try to get as much draft capital out of this year's draft as they can, because this is a real good draft, and you can pick up some really good young talent in this year's draft. There's guys that can play in the NHL right now in this draft. So if I'm the Flyers, anybody and everybody's available, including Kevin Hayes. I just don't know if anybody would want Hayes because of his contract. I mean, he's still on the hook for the next 3 years for $7 million a year. I don't know if anybody would want that contract, but he's got to be available, and he's a very good player. I just don't know that how many teams could fit him in cap wise.
I mean, the East is loaded.
Oh, the East is just the beast of the NHL now. The West stinks. I mean, whoever wins the East is going to have a cakewalk in the Stanley Cup Finals. I thoroughly believe that. I mean, I'm looking at the Rangers just personally, because obviously that's my team. They swept Dallas. They swept Vegas, in their season series. They swept Minnesota. They're 0-1 against Edmonton, but Edmonton has never proven that they can get to the
Rangers are
finals.
third in the Metropolitan, and they have the same points as the number one team in the West.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The Rangers are. The problem for the Rangers is that Boston is really good. Toronto is really good. The Lightning are really good, and the Lightning are still there. They're going to have to play the Devils in the first round, and I don't know that they can beat the Devils. I think that now that they have Tarasenko, I think that they can beat the Devils, but I'm not going to go out there and say, oh, they're definitely going to beat the Devils, because I can't say that. Jack Hughes is just a unbelievable player now. He's the superstar that everybody expected him to be. So there's no guarantee they get out of the first round. And then if they go into the second round and they play Carolina, then I think they could beat Carolina. They certainly proved it. Outside of that, though, then you got to look at them trying to beat Tampa Bay or Boston. That's not going to be easy either. It's just the East.
Last thing before we wrap up here, Sixers in action. They're kind of okay. They're up 97-85, 8 minutes left against the Houston Rockets, but just very underwhelming trade deadline from Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers. You trade Thibault. Everyone saw that coming. Bringing this guy, Jaden McDaniels. I wonder how he's doing tonight. Get his stats up here. But, like, you know, you went out the day before the trade deadline. You went out, Brad. You lost to Boston. Boston didn't have two starters, and Boston had a dinosaur in Blake Griffin just torch you. And that's all you do is trade for Jaden McDaniels, whatever his name is, and you get rid of Matisse Thybulle. Don 19, yeah, a lot of people. There were a lot of trades. It's a shame the Sixers couldn't step up and get one done. But, I mean, it's just the same shit, different year with this team.
Well, let me ask you a question. Who was it that you wanted to get? And, you know, what was it?
No, I would like my GM and Daryl Morey. Everyone always tells me how good he is and how good of an architect he is. I'd like him to get creative one time and maybe do something that you know, no one's expecting that can make you better more than a Jaden McDaniels from Matisse Thybulle swap can. You know, a lot of guys got traded at this year's trade deadline. A lot of players got traded.
I'll tell you, and I'll tell you a couple of guys who might get traded at the end of, in the off season. From what I've heard, Booker on the Suns might be traded, and Trae Young might get traded from the Hawks. Sounds like he and the Hawks are not doing well as far as negotiating a new contract.
They're not very good either.
Who, the Hawks?
No.
Yeah, but he is.
He is. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably find room for him on this team.
And then, yeah, Don, Kevin Durant went to the Suns. Obviously, I know the Sixers aren't going to do anything like that. I know the Sixers aren't going to trade for that knucklehead Kyrie Irving. But, like, you know, like, you can't squeeze your way in a 3-team trade to get your hand on Bridges or Cam Johnson out of Phoenix.
That they could have done, and they should have tried to do.
Like, you can't do something like that. Like, you can't grab Jay Crowder, who I think would help more than McDaniels.
Maybe they couldn't fit him under the cap.
You know, no Drummond. Drummond didn't get traded at all. You know, but Drummond should be on this team from the offseason. He signed for 1 year, $5 million in Chicago. Still a good player. And I have to watch Montrezl Harrell and, you know, PJ Tucker try and play here.
What position is it that the Sixers really are lacking right now?
It's perimeter defense. It's been the same thing for 5 years. The only team that they fielded, Brad, that was legitimate championship contender, in my opinion, over the last, since they got good again, was when they had Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons defending the perimeter. You had Joe underneath.
Oh, that was some team.
And they lost on that Kawhi Leonard shot. And they've never been good since. They just totally ignore. They have Harden. They have Maxey, who can't defend the perimeter. DeAnthony Melton's okay. Like, this team has no chance against Boston or Milwaukee. Like, none. And like we just talked about the NFL, how the Chiefs are always going to have a chance no matter who their receivers are because they have Patrick Mahomes. You would think that would be the case with Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers, but they just don't. They don't have enough stars. They're not good enough. And Daryl Morey has just been an extreme disappointment.
Well, I think part of the problem was Harden is not as good as is just not the same player anymore.
No, but they were lucky to get Harden for Ben.
Yeah, no, I realize that. I realize that's true. Ben, nobody even wants to play in Brooklyn because of him. I mean, getting him kind of ruined their team. Nobody wanted that. Those guys all. I mean, all those, their two little joker guys, Durant and Irving, ran for cover after he came to the team. They can't stand him. So
It's true.
Brooklyn screwed up. They didn't screw up by trading Harden. They screwed up by getting Simmons. They should have gotten somebody else.
Looks like the Sixers are gonna close this one out. So they're gonna beat the Rockets here. Maxey had a really good game tonight, but I think you're high on crack if you think this Philadelphia 76ers team is going to the Eastern Conference Finals or beyond. I don't even think they're as good as the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, I don't know about that. Cleveland's not going to be able. Embiid will destroy them. They don't have anybody that can really guard him.
They have Mobley, they have Jared Allen, they have 2 All-Stars on the block.
Yeah, but they can't guard him.
They have Donovan Mitchell. Nobody can guard Joe. Nobody. He's a freak. He's the best player. He's the best player in the league.
I mean, I think they have enough to beat Cleveland. I don't know about Milwaukee and Boston, but I definitely think they have enough to beat Cleveland.
No.
I mean, Donovan Mitchell, as good as he is, he can't cover anybody either.
Thomas Bryant would have been a nice backup big from the Lakers. Yeah, like anybody to get Montrezl Harrell off the floor would have been awesome.
Yeah, I was expecting to see something happen with the Sixers, and it didn't. That to me was surprising. I mean, I was disappointed with the Knicks. I mean, all they got was Josh Hart. I thought that they would try to do a little bit more than just get him. I mean, I know he's a pretty good player, but does he really make that big of a difference?
No, not really.
He's another guy that he can come off the bench, but I mean, yeah, okay, so their bench is a little better, but does it really make that big of a difference? No, I don't think so. Last time I looked, they were trailing Brooklyn tonight, so and they should be able to beat Brooklyn at this point. I mean, Brooklyn traded their whole team.
All right. I'm too sad to talk about sports anymore. I gave you what I could tonight.
You'll get over it.
I gave you what I could tonight.
You'll get over it.
It's been a rough day.
I know
at least the Sixers won. What's that up? 17 now. 5 minutes to go. They should.
Oh, come on! They're not blowing a 17-point lead to the Rockets. Come on now.
No, but Brad, the way this team plays perimeter defense, there's not enough time tonight. At least I don't think. But
yeah, but the Rockets don't have any leads to score.
This team they're like Penn and Teller out in Vegas.
The Rockets
they make huge leads disappear like that.
Yeah, but the Rockets won't even score 17 points in the remaining time. So that's not going to happen.
All right, he's Brad. I'm Rob. Peace out, everybody. On the better days, the winter sports schedule. Keep your head up. We're here to help you. A2D Radio is here to help you get over this loss. Stinks, but they did lose. All right, until next Monday, everyone. Peace out.